This is the 6-minute review of Gemara Nazir Daf Yod, and we begin the Mishnah. An interesting Mishnah, which a person says that this cow is saying, Hareini Nazir, if it stands up, or the door says I'm a Nazir if it opens. Beis Shammai, again, similar to the previous Mishnah, says he's a Nazir. Beis Hillel says he is not. And once again, comes like Rav Yehuda, and Rav Yehuda says when Beis Shammai says he's a Nazir, what does it mean? It means it is a karban, doesn't mean he's actually a Nazir. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. This is going too far. Cows, could a cow really talk? So the first explanation of the Gemara was Rabbi Bar Chama, and he says the cow is lying in front of him and the person is talking as if the cow is talking. I really wish I could stand up, and if I stand up, I'm going to be a Nazir, mi bisara. So says the Gemara, if it stands up from itself, and then it goes and stands up from himself, so Beis Shammai goes l'shitasan, and Beis Hillel goes l'shitasan. Beis Shammai goes with l'shitasan, just like in the previous Mishnah. Beis Shammai taught us if someone makes himself a Nazir from figs and dried figs, what's the halach? Even though there's no such thing as Nazirs from figs, but it means he's a Nazir. So too over here, when he says he's a Nazir from the flesh of this cow, he's a Nazir as well. Beis Hillel says no, he is not a Nazir. Says the Gemara, Beis Shammai already taught this din. Says Rava 2 or 3 times, Rav Chia says 2 or 3 times, Rav Aisha says 2 or 3 times. All similar cases, but each one teaching us a chiddush. And the Gemara explains what is the chiddush of each one. Says the Gemara Srichi. You know what the chiddush is? You only said the previous Mishnah of figs. I would have thought there Beis Shammai says his din because people make a mistake. And I'm sure many people they are learning the daf mixed up figs and grapes. But to mix up flesh, cow and grapes, that makes no sense. If we just had the case of cow, our Mishnah, I would have thought that's what Beis Shammai says in Nazir B'Sara. Why? Because meat and wine go hand in hand. They're 2 peas in a pot. But figs have no sheiches. And if we would have just had these 2 dinim, I would have said that's what Beis Shammai says is din. But the door, what does it mean if the door opens? I'm a Nazir. And therefore, maybe it'd be Moed to Beis Hillel. If we just had the case of door, I would have said maybe that's where Beis Hillel says you're not a Nazir because the door being a Nazir is no sheiches. But the other cases, maybe he's Moed to Beis Shammai. Therefore, Kamash Malan, the 3 cases, in all 3 cases, Beis Shammai says he is a Nazir, and Beis Hillel disagrees. Comes along Rava, and Rava says there's one problem with the way you just learned the Mishnah. A Mishnah said nothing about the cow standing up by itself. So Rava says, let's slightly modify the case of the cow lying in front of it. And he says that I'm going to be a karban if what? V'amar like karban. So says the Gemara, 1 second, a cow, okay, the cow could be a karban, but how can a door be a karban? So says Rava, again, let's modify the case of the Mishnah. There's a cow lying in front of him, and now we turn over to Yidam Beis. And what does the person say? And the person says, I'm a Nazir miyayin, not a Nazir from the karban, not from the cow, not a Nazir from the door. I'm a Nazir from wine. If the cow doesn't stand up, and then it goes and it stands up on its own. Beis Shammai says the main ingredient was that he wants to stand up this cow with his own hands. And that he didn't do, therefore he's a Nazir. Beis Hillel says, no, the main ingredient, he wanted the cow not to be lying in the ground, and the cow's not lying in the ground, therefore it's fulfilling that which he said, and therefore he is not a Nazir. Ask the Gemara, let's go to the end of the Mishnah, let's go to Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says, Beis Shammai also says in this din, that what is the halacha? That it is a karban. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Para mika matvis b'midi. What is going on over here? He said explicitly Nazir miyayin. So how in this case could Rav Yehuda argue and says no Nazir miyayin, but you're Nazir from, not that you're Nazir, but the cow is going to be a karban, but he said explicitly miyayin. Says the Gemara, you're right. Let's again change the case of the Mishnah slightly. The case is that he says he's a Nazir from the bisara of the cow. If it doesn't stand up, then it stands up on its own. Again, Beis Shammai says the meaning ingredient, he wants to stand it up by himself, and he did not, so he's a Nazir. Beis Hillel says the main ingredient, he wants it to not be in the ground, and it's not on the ground, and therefore he is not a Nazir. Says the Gemara, but he says mi bisara lo yavi Nazir. So says the Gemara on that last detail, Beis Hillel are talking back to Beis Shammai. According to what I hold, you're right, it's not a Nazir, but according to you, Beis Shammai, you should at least agree to me that in this case, and Beis Shammai says, no, nothing is doing, you know why? Because the only time you would not be a Nazir is he picks up the cow on his own, and he did not. Therefore, Beis Shammai sticks to his gun, he's a Nazir. Beis Hillel says no. The 3 cases that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel disagree, the previous Mishnah of fig, this Mishnah of the cow lying, and as well as the door, we'll pick it up in the next Chazara from Daf Yud Aleph.